Hey guys, welcome back. One more episode, and we have reached a phase where we have tabs available in the application, the VIPER application, grocery applications which we are building. So, in this episode, let's primarily focus on some of the things like setting up a notification for a realm using which we will actually show the TabBar count whenever you're adding something to the cart that gets updated in the TabBar under the cart icon section. So that is something which we will take up this time, where TabBar icon or even the TabBar count gets set based on the notification which we are defining in the realm side. Another thing which we will take up is to actually bind or configure our add to back buttons with the actual values which are being set. Let's say if you have something added to the cart and you relaunch your app, it should show you that these items are already available in the cart, and these many counts of these items are available in the cart. So that is something we will do. We are not actually creating the cart section as yet, because that is still away little bit, still time required there. So I'll just take that up in the next one maybe. So in this one specifically, it's more about maybe reimagining the way we are using use cases or the interactors. Mostly right now we are defining protocols and then using it. So use cases are protocols right now, but then in the next episode, which will be I'll be uploading along with this one, is reimagining how we are going to use interactors, not with the protocols, but in a different way using tuples. So that is something interesting. Watch out for that. So let's get started with this one. So first things first, I need to actually start looking at whatever we have right now. Cart section does not show anything. Even if you add, it's actually getting updated to the database side. Nothing more is happening, and it should ideally show that these many. Right now we have two items added to the cart, so that should show up here. So that's what we are going to implement first thing right now, and then we will implement something where, let's say, if you rerun the application right now, you won't see that the add to cart is still showing, but actually we have added couple of items to the cart. So we need to show that. Ideally it will be like when we actually implement it towards the end of the implementation of this application, we will more be having like show something like this item is already available in the cart or something, so that you can go to the cart and then modify your amount from there itself. So for the time being, just to show or highlight or demonstrate how we can actually use realm to actually configure these cells, let's implement something right now. So first thing first, where are we right now? So we have a TabBar controller. What we need is to integrate with the interactors for it. So let's create an interactor. So let me just call that as file. I hope we don't have a cart interactor yet. So let me just call that as cart interactor, because I'm going to reimagine in this in a different way. So I'll just keep it as cart interactor instead of calling it TabBar interactor, which will actually not make sense, because interactors as such can be reused for different other sections. So that's why I'm not calling it as TabBar um, interactor, but rather calling it as cart interactor. So I'm just creating a cart interactor right now. Cart interactor, and for the time being, let's implement the protocol cart use case. So that's what I'll be getting rid of later, but for the time being, let's keep it cart use case. It's what it is implementing. So whatever we are trying to do right now is to fetch the count of items added. That's what the use case is right now. Let's create that function. Get card count, maybe let's call that as get card count, and let's just define it right now before we start. This is what we will get. We'll call, and it should return something, and let's define that in the database. So this is actually going to call a database set. So init, and it's init, whatever we will pass is a DB. So let's keep that ready. Let's pass the DB instance here. So let's go to our database. So what do we have? We have a card DB, so we can use that because that's where our functionality needs to be. We'll just create a function called get card count, same thing. Maybe I'll just count itself. Because it's card DB itself, I can just call it as get count. I don't need anything else. Return. It can return maybe, let's see, get count is what I'm creating right now. So this DB now needs to implement it. Get count. So let's start the implementation for the DB. So this is like something where it should update and notify the UI side that something is getting updated. So it should be like a notification that we need to set, and something should subscribe to it. So I'm not talking about RX Swift here, it's plain Realm itself, plain Swift programming. So let's create an instance of Realm. And what all things we need? We need to call, let's say we need the results first, because in Realm, if you want to set a notification, you need to first fetch the results based on a filter or something like a predicate. But in this case, we don't need any predicate. We can directly, we need all the elements which are being added. So plain simple, like objects, like Realm card item. This is already created in the last project, last episode. If you have not seen it, go back and check this episode. If you need to have the reference of this, then I'll share the link for that in the description section. So this is my Realm object. I don't need any filters because I need all the elements. So I'm not applying any kind of filter here. So whatever is added, I need it. So that's what I meant. And let's create a notification token for this. Notification token. This is coming from the Realm notification. Notification token. That's my notification which I'll use. And all I need to do is notification token is equal to, I use this result set, which is a Realm result set, and I will just call an observe, which will give me a block which I'll use. So this block, you see it's actually giving me a change set. So in this case, in this specific case, I need to subscribe to all kind of changes. Let's say update, delete, or insert. Whatever happens, I need to listen to that. So I'm not using this change set here, but in turn, I'll just use this result sets count as my response type always. So this is what I intend to return through this function. So let me just create a closure for it. I need to return this asynchronously. So I just need the count, so I'll create an int return void create a closure type for this. So it's already giving me an error because I need to modify the card DB. I don't have all this here, so I'm creating that. Also, let me just create a type alias for this part. Just call that as card count closure. Succeeded. Also modify here. This is my card count closure. So all that I need right now is to call this closure. So whenever there is a change happening to the result set, I'm always observing for those changes and I'm just returning the count all the time whenever there is a change. So this is what I need to do. So that's done. I just call it get count. And other thing which I need to do is to call a DB, because whenever there is this class is denatting, I need to invalidate this token. That's it. I have the count function ready right now. I can just now inject in the cart. What we create? Cart interactor. Okay, it's here. It's sitting here. Okay, remove it. So cart interactor needs to have a database reference right now, which is cart DB. Just create an instance for this class. And initialize it. So I have the database right now. So create an extension for this cart interactor. Implements cart use case. I'll remove it anyway. So let's just keep it until we do that. So also similar to the closure that we created. Let's use that same closure here as well. So just call that as closure. Just card count closure. This is what I'll use even here. So I need to update my use case in that case. What is it expecting? Get card count. And because I have the DB right now, I can just call this closure and just pass this closure. So whatever change is happening to get count is all automatically being called from here and returned through this closure. So we are pretty much okay with the cart part, the count part, which we are actually going to call in a presenter, but we don't have a presenter right now in the TabBar, which in the last tutorial we have not created. So let's create that right now. TabBar presenter. It requires a protocol. TabBar presentation. Let me just call as, when should this happen? When should we set the notification? Maybe during URID load. So we can do that during URID load. So for that, let's create a function for URID load. This is the presenter part. So presenter should extend TabBar. Presenter should implement TabBar presentation. And by that, implement this URID load. So let's also init and pass the view instance because we need to update the tab account. So that's what we need to do. Let's get that. Let's go back to our view. There is no protocol defined for that. Let's create that view part. So let me just call that as TabBar view, which will have a function called update card count. So it should accept, should plainly accept an int. That's my count, int of int type. That's it. So this should implement. This should be implemented in my view controller. Sorry, TabBar controller implements this so that I can implement this function. Update card count. So that's where it's going to happen. We already have the view controllers here. So all that we need to do is to maybe use this. We need to set the value in the second view controller. All that we need is index1 dot card. This is one way of doing it. TabBar. Come. Do we have an error? It's optional. TabBar item dot batch value is this count and assign int of type string. Okay, so you can either do this or get an instance of this and set it. I think that's better because in that case I know that this I don't need to rely on this index. If someday change the indexes, everything goes for a toss. So it's better that I just use this cart object itself. So I just call that as cart tab. So go to this so that let's initialize cart tab, which is UI controller type. So by that I can just call this self.tab. This is better because this I can just change this order and it will start showing somewhere else. Better. This is good. So I have the update card ready. So we have the both ends ready, but we need it to happen from the presenter. We don't have that yet. So let's go back to the presenter. Presenter has this. Let's pass the view, which was TabBar view, and then this should be of class. This should be class protocol. It's fine, and let's get a reference to this. Grab view. So self.view will be view then. It should give me some compilation stuff. Okay. So we have to set. We have to call this in. Call this here in our view controller or even the builder. We need this instance in the builder because we don't have a presenter here. Let's create that. Presenter is equal to TabBar presenter accepts this TabBar view controller. TabBar controller. So that's presenter. Instance is done. Now within the view we need to set the view controller. Let's create a reference of the presenter, which will be the TabBar presentation. That's done. So it's asking us to set it over here, but we can keep it. We can just instantiate it from outside. So go back to the builder. TabBar controller dot presenter is equal to this presenter. That's also done. So whatever we intend to do right now is on this viewDid load, let's call this presenter viewDid load. We are not written anything. That's where the logic is going to happen, because let's say the view is loaded here, viewDid load is happening. I call the presenter function. Now the presenter has to call the interactor function, which in turn will call the db, fetch the value, return it back to the presenter, and then it will call this update to update it. So this is what we need to plug in right now. We don't have it yet, so let's call the we are not injected the interactor here, so we also need to do that. Interactor is TabBar. Okay, it's cart interactor. It should be of instance var interactor cart use case, because we also always will refer through the protocols which we have defined. That's also done. We have that's because we need to inject it right now. So let's create an instance of interactor. So cart interactor. It requires a database. We already have that. Realm database dot shared. If you are not aware of whatever is going on right now, then you need to refer back to the previous episode. This is episode 7, so you have to cover starting from 1 to 6. Interactor, let's pass that. That's done. And let's now call the interactor function get card count. So this will return closure. So we know that it's going to return count here. Succeeded, and all that we need to do here is self.view dot update card count. So just pass the count. If we did not have this, it's as easy as passing $0 at the same time. Okay, so that's done. So let's try this. It should show, because we have added a couple of things already, and because that is available in the database right now, it should trigger a notification and set this as the batch count. So let's go back to the database and see what's happening. First thing first, let's review before we run this. So cart db I have, it has a get count function. I have the realm db. I call this get the realm cart item, all the items there. So each and every row it is reading and giving it as a result, and using that result we are setting an observe, and we are ignoring the change sets which are part of this observe, and just calling this closure and returning these results count itself back. So whenever there is a change, we know that we can rely on this results result set, which is a realm object type, which is lazy loaded. Like, it does not retain the values all the time. Whenever we access it, it gives us updated data. That's how realm works. So it's easier in this way. We just keep it. Whenever there's a change, use this result set. As soon as we access it, it gives us the latest results, whatever is there, and return that as a count. And that's happening here. So realm db size is fine. We have the cart interactor. We're calling that database and fetching that value using the same closure and just returning, because we don't have any service calls happening. It's like looking like something redundant where you are actually doing the same thing, but it does not. It will make sense when you have multiple calls happening. You're expecting multiple results to come back. In that case, it makes sense. and we have a presenter, view did load, replicating whatever view did load what we have in the view controller. We're calling it in the view did load. We are calling interactor function, and results we are updating using this. So let's check what's going on right now. Let's rerun, see. Nothing. That is strange. Something we have missed for sure. Let's see. It's updating. It's adding to the cart, but it's not updating. Let's go back and see whether this notification block is working or not. It's not working, so that means something we did wrong somewhere. Is this getting called? That's also not getting called. That's strange. Let's go back to view it load. Did we? Okay. View it load. That's not getting called, so something seriously we missed somewhere. View it load. Was this getting called? That's interesting. That's getting called, but I think the presenter instance is not there. Yeah, that's the reason. I go back, builder, presenter is built, passing it as presenter. I think the problem is that the presenter is getting called even before view reload is getting called even before the presenter reference is set. Let's see that now. Yeah, that's the reason. So let's do one thing. Let's pass it as reference. Let's pass this reference right through this init itself. Let's check that. So we have this presenter presentation. Then just call self.presenter is equal to presenter, and then just get rid of this setting because we have not yet created the view, so let's get rid of that. Presenter is available, it will accept it here. Passing the presenter for instantiation, and tractor we don't have, we need to move it over to the top. So in case this will solve it, one more thing we need to do is to call the presenter.view is equal to TabBar controller. Let's hope this works. Read load is called. Okay, now it's instantiated. Calling this, closure is hit, and do we have a count? Let's check that. We can execute and see. Okay, perfect. So it's updated now. That was a mistake I did because at least for this part it will not work like the regular way. We had to modify it. Only thing I did is to pass the presenter instance, because view did load was getting called even before we are setting the presenter to the view controller. That's only change I did. Module modify, rearrange things like interactor is created first, presenter is created, and then we are passing the presenter through the init of the view controller itself, and then after that we set the view for the presenter. So that's the only change. This works right now. So what all things did we achieve? So as I said, these are not reflecting, these two add to cart is not reflecting because they are already in the cart. So if you reduce, okay, this is another problem which we saw right now, because when it is set to 0 we need to remove that from the add cart. So that's something we do right now. We don't have a delete right now. Let's create that. Delete from delete from cart using cart item. So for delete all the what do we need? Cart item, same stuff like who. So delete from cart item. Let's implement that. Delete. And we just need to use the same kind of blocks, because delete works similar to add, but just that you need a delete here. And one other thing that you need is that you need to fetch the object and then delete. So ideally we don't need this cart item, because from cart we just need the SKU ID, which is of type string. We can update that from the cart table. That's it. Go back. So using this type print does not conform. What did I do? Function is, that's cart items. It's not compiled. Okay, so we have the SKU ID. Use that. Let's use that. So if let realm object is equal to realm dot objects, which is of realm cart item dot self dot, let's find the first object where $0 dot SKU ID, that's a predicate we are setting, should be equal to the ID which we are passing. So if we identify that any of these objects are existing with this ID, delete it. Hopefully it will only be one. So that's the reason I said first. If I get the first object, I delete it. So I just pass this and just delete it. So that's also fine. Compiles. So delete is happening. We have the delete thing. So only when are we going to delete? Whenever we set the count to 0. So that's when we call this delete. Otherwise it's update cart. So let's go back to our interactor, cart interactor. Okay, this is happening in the home screen. So let's go to the home interactor. You just need to handle this here. This is the beauty of VIPER as such, because you know that you are adding a use case. So you just need to go to the interactor and do nothing more. You just add this in the interactor section. So let's simply do if SKU item quantity is greater than, let's do a guard else to the other stuff. So we know that if it is greater than 0, we can just call the update part. If it is 0, then you just call the self.database.delete part from cart. So we know that I need to pass the SKU ID from cart using the SKU ID. So this is not making much sense from using delete. I could have said just using SKU ID. Using SKU ID is making more sense. will solve it. So that's it. So greater than 0, update the card, otherwise delete the card. This should work right now. Let's go back and run. Okay, so we have 4 items. These were the 4. So once I should set it to 0, it should delete. It's deleting, so it's resetting this too. Now the cart is empty, does not have anything. But I actually removed this, but then that's okay. At least the feature is working right now. We don't need to set it to 0, we can clear it actually. For 0, set it to empty. Oh, is this something which accepts nil? Okay, if this will make sense. Yeah, so that's pretty much whatever I wanted to highlight, demonstrate in this one, where we set the card, the bubble, or what do you call that as, whenever the count is increased, whenever you're adding something in the card, the batch count gets updated in the tab section. So that's what I wanted to show. So things we covered is how to set the rel notification in the database, and that's what is happening here. And we are also getting the count using this observers, which is always working, and you're returning the values. And we set the card title using that. So all the wiring happened, starting from interactor, presenter, and everything. So one more thing which I wanted to show here is a problem thing which you should be careful with. Like, we did dispatch everything in the main thread right now. So if you try to run this in the background thread, Realm does not support it. It needs main thread for notifications, or you'll have to write your own background worker classes for it to work. So that is something I'm not touching upon right now, because this is pretty much what I wanted to cover. But then this is a problem. I can just show it right now. Like, you're running it in the you are getting the count from the background thread, and then updating it in the main thread. So this call will be happening in the background thread right now. So count, that's that count here, and once that fetch is complete, we are passing in the main thread. So that's what is happening here. But you will see that the app will crash right now with Realm exception, because it cannot run in the background thread. So you get an exception. So it can only add notification blocks from within run loop. So it relies on the main thread's run loop. So if you want to actually run it in a different run loop, then you'll have to create a run loop, create a thread, create a run loop, make it as a background worker, and make it execute. But that is a little tedious. But this will not create much problem, even if it is a main thread. Those writes, if you are actually streamlining it through its own serial queue, then you will not have any kind of issues. That is something I'll take up in the later episodes. But then this is just a warning, like you cannot execute it in the background thread and then dispatch it in the main thread. it should, if you are setting an observable, you should set it in the main thread itself for the time sake. So I guess that's what I wanted to discuss in this final thing. Otherwise, I'm pretty much done with this tutorial, and I'm starting with the next one right now, which is actually reimagining how we are using the interactor. So that is coming up pretty soon right now. Watch out for that. Until then, bye.